Hello, everyone. We better start over here because we are not recording, and we will start again. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big show. This is Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. If you're a first-time listener, thank you for stopping by. My name is Josh Lilquist, and we are happy to have you with us today. As always, I have my good friend, my good pal. He is the stock master, the brains, the genius of this whole operation because it's not me, Mr. Al Connickson. Al, how are you doing today?
Feeling pretty good, Josh. How about you?
I'm doing really good. I got to pump you up every once in a while because sometimes you need that, right?
I did. I'm pumped up.
After a little bit of snow this week, you seemed a little bit down, but I brought you back up, and you are ready to go for a good show.
Just stick around. The day's young.
The day is young. Well, Al, this is a financial show, and that's what we're going to talk about here today is the markets, how they work, how most people think they work, but just different opportunities with these markets moving forward. We're going to do a quick stock market update, as we know, big moves in the markets this week, right. But we do also really like our subscribers on the podcast. For those people listening in our podcast, whether it's live or on Investing and Trading Live, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. But let's get into a quick update here on the markets, Al, because, what was it, Tuesday we had, we'll call it lackluster CPI data, and really rocking the markets to the downside, erasing about a whole week's worth of gains, especially in the S&P 500. Right. The Dow, or the NASDAQ was a big loser too, but then it keeps chugging along. It's like that train, that Thomas the Train just keeps chugging right along, keeps moving along, and we've seen positive action Wednesday, Thursday, and we know what happened here Thursday and Friday here, but that's what I want to discuss here is some of the great opportunities that are available to us as the public, because a lot of people just put their money into the market and let it sit there for 20, 30 years, hope it works out. But if you think about it, we have a retirement crisis, and if everybody is doing the same thing, there's something wrong with that strategy. So I want to discuss that here as we progress into the second, third, and fourth segments here. But I want to get your insight on this big move this week. Phenomenal action. What are some of the opportunities that you're seeing with this great market?
Well, it was a crazy week. Josh, I think a couple things happened this last week. You mentioned the CPI report. It showed that inflation is not going away. It's still there, and it was... The CPI numbers came out higher than expected.
Yep, they were projecting 0.2%. It was 0.3%.
So inflation is still sticky. And then
sticky, I like that.
Thursday,
basically, it's the change of prices of goods and services purchased by consumers. That's what that means.
Right. On Thursday, the retail sales number came out, and that number was lower than expected. It was down about 0.8%. The expectation was for it to be down 0.1%. So what do those two things say? Number one, inflation is still here. And number two, what has really been boosting the markets and the economy has been a combination of consumer spending and obviously government spending.
Yeah, unemployment claims were up too.
Yeah, so if things are changing as far as
they were, my mistake, they were down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, they were actually expecting 219,000. They were at 212.
So anyways, the two things that really have been driving the market, inflation coming down, people expected that to keep going down, and the consumer spending. Those two things this last week showed that they were reversing. Consumer was spending less, inflation was still here. So those are things to really be careful about. A lot of people are pretty euphoric and pretty happy with what's happened in this market, and you should be, but now might be the time where you want to be a little more cautious. We call what could be happening complacency. People get used to the market going up, and they just think it's going to continue going up.
Well, sometimes you have to realize those gains and take your profits. I mean, I end the podcast every time, collect your profits when they're given to you, protect your losses, keeping them small, because that's how you build longevity in the market.
Absolutely, and I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is not knowing how to take a profit. There's two mistakes people make that I think really hurt them. One is not knowing how to get out if you're wrong with a small loss, but the other is not knowing how to take a profit. I would say every week when we have students come in or people come in that are looking at becoming students, they will say, you know what, I had a great profit and then I lost it. Almost every time. I think it would be almost impossible to find somebody that has traded for a while, has invested in stocks, that hasn't had that happen, where they had what looked like a great profit and they held on because they thought it was going to keep going up, and it didn't. It went down. So I think those are some of the things that we teach our students, is how to be disciplined enough to understand when to get out if you're wrong, when to get out if you're right. But those two things are dependent upon when you get in. What is the price you pay to get into something? And that you have to be able to use a strategy that puts the odds in your favor, that entry price is going to be at a point where the movement will be in your favor. And that's part of what our core strategy does, is designed to do exactly that. And we can give you all the knowledge in the world. You can listen to YouTube, you can go to the library, Barnes & Noble, you can get all sorts of knowledge, but that knowledge really isn't of any value unless you know how to use it and know how to use it in different market conditions. That's all part of what should be a plan that everybody has, that we help our students put together.
Yeah, you mentioned Barnes & Noble. Is that even around anymore?
Yeah, there's one in Galleria.
There is. Oh, nice. Okay. Well, so you mentioned a couple things there, and we had the Super Bowl this past week.
We did.
And the Kansas City Chiefs are now world champions, Super Bowl champions.
2 years in a row.
You're right, 2 years in a row. And they're going to go for 3. And I tell you what, I've been seeing some of the parties they've been having. They have been having a lot of fun in those parades. But that being said, you mentioned you have to be able to realize your profit or know when to take your profits. Now, that's kind of very similar to that Super Bowl game. The Chiefs came down in overtime. They got the ball, and they went down and marched down the field. And they got to the point where they were in the red zone, and it was time to realize their profit, which was it was time to score and win the national title, the Super Bowl. Now, taking your profits is exactly the same thing. They could have went there and just said, "Oh, I'm just going to stay here and I'll hold on and I'll wait until something happens." Well, that's not going after the prize. And that's the same thing in trading and investing. You have to go after the prize, and you have to get it. You have to know when and how to do that. Well, a lot of people listening right now are probably like, well, how do we do that? Well, that's why we exist, Al. That's why we have investing classes for people just like you to learn how to realize your profits. Learn the strategies that do that. Know where to do that. Learn the strategies to identify when to realize your profits and when to keep your losses small. So these investing classes that we do local here at the Academy, they're only about 2 hours of your day. We have these during the week. We have them on Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays. We've been having some on Sundays, which a lot of great people have been coming into. So I want to invite you to this investing class to learn those different techniques and strategies to hopefully have a better future in your life. Whether it's time or monetary, it doesn't really matter. Whatever that is, learn the skills and techniques and strategies that are designed for that. Simply text the word investing right now for 2 seats for an investing class right here in Bloomington. We're all over the metro. We're coming to your backyard. Just go to our website, otamin.com. You can see the different dates there, or just text the word investing to the number 210-210, and we'll send you our landing page. Coming up next, we're going to talk about income strategies, wealth strategies, different opportunities with these markets that are happening right now, some of the great things with stocks, some of the great things with options, futures, and Forex. This is Josh and Al, Investing and Trading Live. We will be right back.